California Governor Gavin Newsom is now calling his city's homeless encampments unacceptable, which is odd since he's the guy who, made them acceptable, turning sidewalks into red carpet events for drug addicts, thieves, and unemployed CNN anchors. On Monday, he urged cities to ban the camps from sidewalks, parks, and other public areas. So after years of denying the problem, he's now pretending to fix it, which is like putting on a as you're leaving a whorehouse.
When Greg Gutfeld sets his crosshairs on Gavin Newsom, it's not just a roast. It's a political napalm drop, delivered with surgical sarcasm and stand-up timing. Every punchline strips away the glossy veneer, exposing the backstage disaster of California's reality show governance. Skyrocketing crime? Check. Businesses fleeing like it's a fire drill? Absolutely. Performative politics served with a side of smug? Gutfeld turns it into late-night gold. Newsom's hair might defy gravity, but his reputation doesn't survive the heat. California didn't elect a leader. It got a walking PR campaign in a tailored suit. And Gutfeld? He's not buying the pitch. He's selling tickets to the takedown.
So if restoring order is evil, then the Dems are now the party of disorder. Turns out the only system they had was wokeism, and it rotted any basic principles the party had to begin with, which is why, like Gavin himself, they're left looking at 2028's hopes going up in flames. And this time, no one is going to help them put it out.
Gavin Newsom glides into a room like he's auditioning for a shampoo commercial. Hair sculpted to supernatural perfection. Ego gleaming brighter than the Golden Gate at high noon. But Greg Gutfeld doesn't flinch. He's not rolling out the red carpet. He's lighting it on fire. Newsom's not stepping into a debate. He's strutting straight into a roast pit, and Gutfeld's already got the flames cranked to incinerate.
You could be the governor of any state. What would it be? And you might say, oh, I would be in Texas, live free or die. No, that's New Hampshire. Just live free. It's
or just die.
Die, or just, it's California. Because people can live under the most incompetent governance ever, but it's still California, right?
Then there's the California crime wave. Now with extra chaos, Newsom style. Greg jokes he's searching for Gavin's magic wand, because all the governor seems to do is toss glitter in the air and call it community engagement. Meanwhile, the streets are serving up carjackings, open-air drug markets, and panhandling that feels more like extortion. Main Street doesn't resemble a city center. It looks like a rejected scene from a dystopian reboot. Residents need survival guides just to run errands on weekends. But Gavin, he fires off another press release praising compassionate leadership, as if that's going to teleport your stolen iPhone out of a sketchy minivan and back into your hands.
Apparently, the baked bread exemption has puzzled observers for months, but Newsom told reporters it's just part of the sausage making of politics. So what's that mean, sausage making? We know it has nothing to do with Gavin cooking. He prefers dining out, especially when everyone else is locked down under threat of arrest. The phrase refers to the unpleasant way in which a process is carried out behind the scenes. When someone says, you don't want to know how the sausage is made, it's usually referring to something gross.
Greg dives headfirst into the hypocrisy, torching Newsom's environmental posturing while the guy racks up private jet miles, like he's on a luxury tour of climate denial. It's the equivalent of a militant vegan showing up to a backyard BBQ dressed head to toe in foie gras. So over the top it becomes parody. All the while, wildfires rip through the state. Reservoirs dry up like integrity in Sacramento, and California somehow manages to lead the world in per capita carbon emissions. But don't worry, Newsom's eco-cred is totally intact, if you count that artsy wine glass selfie under solar-powered fairy lights.
California Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass denounced the federal immigration raids. So now they don't want California to have ice or water. So last week, Newsom said he hopes the conservative Supreme Court will overturn the current law that bans his state from removing out-of-control homeless encampments. Imagine that. Well, what did you expect, Gavin? That the sanctuary seekers were going to show up in Winnebago?
Speaking of disasters, Greg tears into Newsom's housing crisis like a wrecking ball with a mic. Here's a guy who can't manage to build a single livable home for a working family, yet cranks out executive orders like their Starbucks lattes. Fast, overpriced, and completely ineffective. Blueprints disappear, red tape wraps around developers like caution tape at a crime scene, and every affordable housing project ends up wedged into someone's backyard like a zoning prank. And what's Gavin's bold solution? Billboards. Because nothing says we're tackling homelessness like glossy posters plastered over the very streets people are sleeping on.
So why do I keep bringing up Gavin? Well, other than my respect for his work in American Psycho, he's starting to distance himself from his party's worst ideas. Newsom, a guy who hates fossil fuels but could still bring down the price of gas by wringing out his hair, once proclaimed that his state would be a sanctuary to all who seek it. Then people actually came, tons of them, moving faster than a mob of Walgreens shoplifters.
Greg digs even deeper into Gavin's grandstanding theatrics. The king of cancel this, mandate that, and don't forget to lecture the rest of the country while you're at it. At this point, Newsom's middle name might as well be performance. He's California's crown prince of virtue signaling, flaunting executive overreach like a sugar-high kid bragging about downing the whole tub of ice cream. Greg's advice? Maybe try quietly funding real solutions for once, instead of live tweeting political poetry from a scenic hillside while the city below burns. And then there's the budget, or as Greg calls it, Gavin's personal checkbook. It's a spending spree on nonprofits, bloated grants handed out like party favors, and pledges that spill into deficits like a busted fire hydrant. California funnels tax dollars into every shiny buzzword project imaginable. High-speed rail to nowhere, universal designer diapers, unicorn climate tech version 4.0, all while the roads crumble, the grid flickers, and the basics get ignored. And now, cue the mask card. Greg torches the infamous indoor dining ban, followed by Newsom's own VIP dinner party at French Laundry. Nothing screams, do as I say, quite like banning the peasants from restaurants while sliding into a white linen soiree with lobbyists. Gavin pulled it off with a grin, like the reflection in the mirror cracking didn't even faze him. Classic Newsom. Image polished. Consequences be damned.
So Newsom is fed up with tent cities, the crime, the urban decay? No, he's not mad about that stuff. He's mad you noticed. It's like a criminal telling a jury he's sorry he robbed 25 banks when he's just sorry he got caught on the 26th. Because this isn't some spontaneous crisis. It's a man-made disaster like Chernobyl or Fox and Friends.
Let's talk about Gavin Newsom's pandemic performance, or as Greg calls it, posture over policy. First, he crowned himself the lockdown king. Salons, closed, gyms, padlocked, bakery lines, taped off like crime scenes. All while delivering sermons on discipline and sacrifice. Then cut to Gavin sipping wine at the French Laundry like he's hosting a tasting tour of hypocrisy. His pandemic rules shifted more than his private jet schedule. Greg drives it home. The rules were never for him. Gavin makes laws the way influencers make filters, only to break them in the next frame. Then there's the budget brag. Newsom boasted about California's billions in reserves, until he torched it all on pet projects, bailouts, and obscure grant programs that sound more like riddles than relief. Now the state's credit rating is wobbling like a caffeinated unicycle. But don't worry, he still found funds to drop on electric surfboards and solar-powered boats nobody asked for. It's eco-theater meets fiscal madness. And let's not skip Gavin's addiction to PR. Every crisis kicks off with a cinematic campaign rollout. Wildfire season? Cue the Instagram carousel. Drought? Drop a celebrity PSA. Earthquake prep? Hashtag it. But Greg's been to the neighborhoods. What he sees is caution tape, graffiti, and shuttered storefronts. The hero tape branding doesn't match the boarded-up reality. Greg nails the disconnect. Gavin's California is all frame, no picture. Just a glossy illusion trying to hold back a 5-alarm disaster.
So Los Angeles is on fire again. It's like deja vu, the French words for Newsom sucks. So while ICE was out investigating a criminal conspiracy, rioters assumed it was an immigration raid and swarmed and assaulted the feds. And no surprise, the state's leadership spent 2 days giving the rioters more support than Pelosi's underwire.
Greg dives headfirst into the carnival ride that is Gavin Newsom's energy policy, cracking up at the absurdity of shutting down nuclear plants while begging Californians not to touch their thermostats during heat waves. The tech capital of the world reduced to, please don't microwave your dinner at 7 p.m. It's irony, hot enough to melt asphalt. Blackouts are so routine now, candles might get reclassified as taxable energy sources. And who's behind this glowing success? The guy whose personal backup generator probably runs on freshly squeezed smugness. Greg skewers Gavin's habit of turning every issue into a moral crusade. Every press conference is a sermon, every bill delivered like it's a stone tablet from Mount Sacramento. And while he's busy moralizing, he's also transforming California into a bureaucratic jungle. Want to open a lemonade stand? You'll need a permit, a license, and probably a fire inspection. Want to fix your fence? Better brush up on your zoning code thesis. Meanwhile, mom-and-pop shops suffocate under mountains of red tape, while Gavin's big corporate buddies breeze through with tax breaks and regulatory exemptions like it's a donor-only clearance event. He says he's fighting for the little guy, but only if that little guy shows up on his campaign finance report. Greg doesn't see a leader. He sees a gatekeeper with a clipboard in one hand and a donor cocktail list in the other.
So after years of denying the problem, he's now pretending to fix it, which is like putting on a condom as you're leaving a whorehouse. Who hasn't?
What's a condom?
But as always, when a far-left Dem runs for national office, he acts like a Republican. This is where the left is really pro-trans. Suddenly, they grow bald.
Healthcare promises. Greg rips into those like peeling back layers of a stale campaign sandwich. Universal coverage, mental health reform, drug recovery programs. Newsom rolls them out with puffed-up pressers and dramatic flair. But when you peel back the strategic vision and pilot programs, all you're left with is a roadmap to nowhere. Go ahead, try booking a checkup at your local clinic. 6-month wait times if you're lucky. Yet Gavin's team is busy high-fiving over a new task force logo. Then comes the education collapse. K-12 schools shuttered, parents scrambling like it's a fire drill, and students falling so far behind they need a telescope to see grade level. California's academic ranking is in free fall. But Gavin, he's out here pitching Education 2.0 like it's a Silicon Valley startup, all buzzwords and zero bandwidth. Equitable access sounds great, until your kid can't read and your school's still on Zoom. Now enter the Hollywood hypocrisy. Gavin's Golden Boy business model is a love letter to tycoons and influencers. Lobbyists line up like it's a red carpet premiere. Cronies grab no-bid contracts faster than you can say public-private partnership. And celebrity endorsements sprout up quicker than rainbow license plates in June. Greg doesn't see a governor. He sees a talent agent running auditions. But where are the results? Who's delivering substance? Because at this point, California's not being governed. It's being marketed.
Now, it's often said that life is like a crap sandwich. The more bread you have, the less crap you gotta eat. But in Gavin Newsom's California, they mean it literally. California recently passed a law mandating a higher minimum wage for fast food restaurants, raising it from $16 to $20 an hour. But it offers an odd exemption for chains that bake bread and sell it as a standalone item. Why? What difference does that make? Why shouldn't a restaurant/bakery be subject to the same laws as everybody else? Is the bakers union that powerful? If you cross them, will you wind up with the Pillsbury Doughboy's head in your bed? No one will say. But according to a new Bloomberg News report, Newsom pushed for the bread exemption to help a longtime campaign donor, billionaire Greg Flynn, who happens to own a bunch of Panera Breads. Huh?
Greg goes full throttle, roasting Newsom's bizarre obsession with comparing California to entire nations. Like bragging if California were a country. Somehow makes sense when you can't even fix the DMV. Greg cracks up. If California were a country, it'd be the one constantly bailing out its own citizens from potholes and wildfire evacuations. Right after bragging about electric buses no one can afford. Then there's the water crisis. Greg takes the gloves off. While Gavin blames climate change like it's a get-out-of-jail-free card, he conveniently ignores the real culprits. Rotting infrastructure, environmental red tape so thick it makes project delays a full-time job, and a complete failure to plan for a drought despite it happening every single year. It's like California gets surprised by summer. Every Gavin media appearance is like a bottle of avocado oil, slick, shiny, and completely useless if you actually need results. And every time he tries to dunk on Texas or Florida, California ends up tripping over its own pile of dysfunction. Greg jokes that Gavin's chasing viral fame with a resume that includes skyrocketing crime, hollowed-out cities, and sidewalks that double as open-air rehab centers. Greg closes with a killer blow, painting Gavin as the politician who genuinely thinks charisma can replace competence. The hair, the teeth, the slow-motion hand gestures so rehearsed you'd think they were choreographed by Pixar. Watching him speak is like watching a live-action political Barbie doll. Fresh outfit, same recycled speech.
Gavin ponders why Dems lost.
We lost. We lost the popular vote, and we lost the electoral vote. We got crushed. And we need to be humble about that, and we need to have some grace, and we need to understand why. Was it because of the incumbency penalty? Was it because of inflation? Was it because of interest rates? Was it because of immigration? Was it because we were too, quote unquote, woke? Was it because of issues with Israel? Was it all of the above? I think we are going through that forensic. We need to understand at the same time, we also have to push back against the whitewaters and headwinds of the Trump administration.
Environmental flubs? Greg doesn't even need a shovel. The dirt's right on the surface. Gavin hypes up California's zero-carbon future, like he's pitching a sci-fi reboot. But behind the curtain, he's quietly greenlighting fossil fuel permits buried in bureaucratic offset jargon. The state imposes carbon taxes on citizens while handing out industrial waivers like candy. Small print no one reads. Big consequences no one escapes. Greg smirks. Gavin's greener in speeches than in actual results. He's the eco-warrior who recycles talking points better than he recycles policy. Then Greg goes in on the career climb, mayor to lieutenant governor to governor, like he's scaling a staircase made of campaign promises. But by the time he reaches the top, the whole structure's wobbling, and Newsom's still grinning like a kid who built a Lego castle on a table with one leg missing. And of course, there's Gavin's signature move, the task force tornado. Anytime California catches fire, figuratively or literally, Gavin forms a new commission like he's assembling a superhero squad. Each one gets a slick, meaningless name. Innovation Cohort, Future Now Response, Resilience Vanguard. Greg nails the punchline. No one turns buzzwords into performance art quite like Newsom. It's never about fixing the problem. It's about sounding like a TED Talk wrapped in kale leaves and funded by a donor brunch.
Kennedy, I think the answer is yes. Was
it because of Israel? Yes. Interest rates? Yes. Too woke? Yes. It's like every bad policy that trickled up to the White House during the Biden administration started in California. That state is responsible for the worst politicians in modern history. And he is at the top of the list. And there are some ignoramuses on that list.
Adam Schiff,
Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Like, those are all the people who are the products of the California mono-party vacuum. And he's the guy who thinks he's going to run for president when, so much of the state is absolutely unlivable. And so every project that he's championed, he's now trying to demonize. conveniently, and people are not that dumb.
Greg sums it up perfectly. If Gavin Newsom ran a bakery, he'd blow $10 million on signage, $15 million on influencer campaigns, and forget to bake the bread. But don't worry, he'd still throw a ribbon-cutting ceremony, all smiles, standing proudly in front of an oven that hasn't been turned on. Even Gavin's attempts at humility feel like performance art. Greg torches the post-French Laundry Humble Tour, where Newsom suddenly rebranded as a man of the people, hosting listening sessions and hearing the pain, like sorrow, could be served with microgreens on a reclaimed wood platter. And when the recall effort came knocking, Greg reminds everyone that Gavin didn't defend his record. He played the victim with the flair of a Broadway understudy, finally landing a lead role. Out came the smear campaigns, the partisan buzzwords, and the human shield of celebrities and union bosses. Accountability? Please. In Newsom's world, it's just another PR strategy. As for legacy, Greg paints a brutal picture. If California were a novel, Gavin would be the narrator constantly rewriting the plot while the set collapses behind him. He's on track to leave behind the most expensive, over-regulated, underperforming state in America. But hey, the Instagram photos will be flawless. Because in Gavin's version of leadership, it's not about fixing the fall. It's about looking good while you tumble off the cliff.